Let's take a live look over in Oakland County this morning, where in just a couple of weeks, the Oakland County Board of Commissioners, they're going to start their hearings about next year's budget, which is a normal thing, happens every single year. The county executive is proposing a $1.08 billion budget for 2026. That's roughly the same as this year's budget. Some of the main points in that budget: money going to help families in the county, including helping them with housing, food, and social services. Budget hearings will begin next month, and everything has to be done by October. That's when that new fiscal year actually begins. The county executive, Dave Coulter, joining me right now here on Local 4 Live. Dave, it seems like the entire top of our show is all Oakland County. Yeah. A lot of things happening over there. Let's just start with your budget, though. $1 billion seems like a lot, but that's pretty normal for your county, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a big county, so we have a big budget.
Right.
Oakland County is bigger than 9 states. It's a very large place. We do a lot of things, and the budget's about $1 billion. But as you said, it's flat. We're not increasing it very much at all this year, kind of tightening our belts and making sure we get through both the economic storms that are happening and then, cuts from D.C. and the like. So,
well, that's what I want to ask you about, too, is that, how are you able to put together a budget with these economic storms and not really understanding what money is coming from both the feds and the state, because their budget isn't done yet either?
It's a part art and part science, right? Okay, we don't know exactly what's going to come, so we try to be conservative about it, cautious about it. We try to make sure we have a really big rainy day fund, which ours is almost $300 million, so plenty of money.
That's a lot of rain. We're good then.
That's a lot of rain, or a lot of ability to do the rain. And it's a lot of work. My budget team works on this budget all year long. It's not the sexiest thing that government does, but I think it's one of the most important. It really shows what our strategies are, what we care about, what we're going to invest in, and how we're going to proceed. So it's a really important thing that we do every year, and I'm really proud of our budget team for working on it all year long.
Yeah, looking at some of the articles written about this, it sounds like some of your highlights are affordable housing, more vaccines, protective vests for the sheriff's department, for, I forget what division was it? The
sheriff's department, the deputies, yes.
And then a 4% raise for non-union employees.
Yes.
Can you dive into affordable housing? What does that look like?
When I became county executive 6 years ago now next month, we had no real strategy or plan around affordable housing, and it's become a really important issue for people. If you're in the middle class or lower middle class, it's really expensive to live in Oakland County. But we need people of all income abilities there to work there and be there. And so we invested, when we got our COVID money a couple years ago, $20 million into a housing trust fund so that we could incentivize developers to add affordable units. So we're not building housing. We
you don't want to get in the construction business?
I am not in the construction business. That would not go well, I don't think. But we do give loans to developers if they set aside a certain amount for affordable housing, market rate housing. And we're not talking Section 8, the government stuff. We're talking just affordable market rate housing so that more of our residents can afford to live in the county and participate.
So on that note then, how do you hold them accountable? Because we have seen many times and many projects say, we're going to have some affordable housing here, and then it seems to go by the wayside once the project gets up and running.
Yeah, no, they have to sign contracts with us. This is a loan with lots of folks, lots of lawyers involved. I have a housing division that monitors this on a yearly basis. So the oversight is significant.
Excellent, more vaccines. What does that mean? What are you doing there?
Well, one of the ways that we've been getting cut from D.C. is in the health department. They've taken a couple of cuts. We've lost nurses in our health division. We've also been scaled back on the monies that we get to provide vaccines. One of the things that a public health department does is give childhood vaccines and back to school vaccines and the like. And they've been scaling back on that. So we had to, for the first time since I've been county executive, add $300,000 to make up the shortage in the vaccines monies that we're not getting from D.C.
When you don't get that money, where do you find it? Do you dip into that rainy day fund, or do you get
because we don't use the rainy day fund for like ongoing expenses. So we have to cut somewhere else. I mean, literally, that's the trade-off. When we lost the nurses, that was a $3 million grant. We weren't able to find an extra $3 million. We had to let those people go. So it is a challenge, and it's kind of on a weekly, daily basis where we're finding out these things. We just found out weeks ago that we're not getting, and this is a much smaller grant, but the Sheriff's Department isn't getting an $80,000 grant so that we can for marine patrol on the lakes.
Right, which actually right now is incredibly important.
Is incredibly important, and unfortunately, and I don't want to, to point too much fingers at DC, but we don't get any notice of this. We don't get any discussion. Hey, where could we trim? It's just boom, this is gone. Tomorrow you have to figure out how to pay for it. So that one is smaller, so we'll figure that one out. But $3 million for the nurses, we don't have that. So it's an ongoing challenge that all units of government have, really.
Okay, we'll talk more about that, and then we're also going to talk about some road safety. We're going to take a short 90-second break, and we'll come back just a moment with Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter. Welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. Still joined here with Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter. We talked about this $3 million loss. It was a grant that you had got, funding nurses, particularly in nursing homes,
That's
right?
Where they were working in the nursing homes.
So what do you do when you lose $3 million? You have to lay off nurses?
Yeah.
So how do you?
Literally the next day, and that was part of the problem. We got notified on Monday, and they said, call them because this grant stops now, so they can't come to work tomorrow.
So then what happens to the patients in the nursing homes themselves?
Well, they were nurses that worked with nursing homes to prevent the spread of communicable diseases.
Okay.
So they weren't the bedside nurses.
I see.
They were working with management and other nurses.
But still, stopping the spread of disease is a pretty important job.
It is to me, and I'll be honest, I had a press conference to try to bring attention to this issue, but these days it's really hard to break through all the other things that are happening, and it barely got any attention, and we just lost the nurses, and now we're scrambling.
Do you feel like you have no recourse, nowhere to go, nobody to talk to at the federal level when you're trying to get some at least understanding on where this money is going and why you're not getting it anymore?
Unfortunately, yeah. There's no one there's no one attached to these grants. This I think comes out of the Doge group there, but I don't know Elon Musk. He's not there anymore.
Right.
I don't have a direct line to someone there to say, "Are you sure this is what you meant to do? This is really what it's doing." That kind of relationship, which honestly has always kind of existed between local and state and federal government. We kind of work together. That's not the same.
I do want to transition here and spend some time talking about what happened yesterday in Farmington Hills with that road worker. Just a horrible situation. We've seen it so many times here in Metro Detroit. Yeah. What goes through your mind when you hear that a road worker, not just injured, but killed while working alongside?
You know, it was devastating to hear that yesterday. To get that phone call, the first thing I think about is their family, and then also their coworkers that are on the site with them and may have witnessed it. It's just devastating, and it's just a reminder, and we don't know exactly what happened in this case, why she went over the center line, but it's just a reminder to please slow down in construction zones. You know, these folks do everything they can to try to keep themselves safe, but they can't prepare for this. They need us to be mindful, slow down, remember that there's families and friends and loved ones involved, and just devastating.
Well, and you say slow down, and there's been some reports, and it hasn't been confirmed yet, but we've heard this driver may have been going in excess of 100 miles an hour. When you hear things like that, maybe it was a medical issue. We don't know.
We don't know.
Right? So there's still got to be some level of frustration because this keeps happening.
And if that is true, my heartbreak will turn to anger. I mean, there's just no excuse, especially in a construction zone. You just can't do that. That's why the fines are so high. That's why the penalties are what they are. And yet, almost on a monthly basis, we see somebody getting hurt, and it's or killed in this case. It's just heartbreaking.
Is there anything that can be done to make these work zones safer? And I say that understanding that sometimes there is a very difficult fine line between making it even safer, but putting up extra concrete barriers and things sometimes becomes prohibitive for traffic, and it doesn't even work.
You know, that's a great question. I called yesterday. This gentleman that died was a member of the Operating Engineers Union.
Okay.
So I called the union president yesterday just to offer my help and support. And I said, what could have happened? What could we have done at the work site? He said, Dave, we think and talk about this all the time. The work site wasn't the issue in our mind or the employer's mind. It's just we can't control a random person. But he said, in my mind anyway, and this is the union president, the site was safe for all the standards that we talk about.
And that means a lot then, because it's the unions that will go after you, or the the road commission if it wasn't safe.
If it wasn't safe. And, and I'm not saying, again, the investigation's ongoing.
Absolutely.
Maybe they'll find out that there was something at the site. But as of yesterday, he said, we believe it's just this random person who did something really unfortunate.
Yeah. Okay, I want to transition one more time, kind of a hard turn here with one last question.
Yeah.
Oakland County is a thriving, growing community. What do you want people to know about what's on the horizon? What's coming next for Oakland County?
I would say a couple of things. Number one, although we don't talk about COVID anymore, but economically, Oakland County is the economic engine of Michigan. It's important for the state that we create jobs and create wealth there, and we're almost fully back from COVID, and so we're very much focused on our economy, making sure that the jobs come back and businesses come. I go on business attraction trips to try to bring more jobs back to Oakland County, and we're doing really, really well at that. So that will continue to be a focus of ours, not because it's just important for Oakland County, but also for the state.
Right.
A project that I'm really excited about is we bought an office tower in downtown Pontiac, and we're literally moving my office and 700 employees back to downtown Pontiac. Downtown Pontiac has seen a lot of disinvestment over the years, but I am very optimistic it's our county seat. I'm very optimistic about the potential there, and we are going to be part of the renaissance of downtown Pontiac, and the demolition of the Phoenix Center has already underway. It's 2 months ahead of schedule. I'm excited about that. And within 2 years, we will move 700 employees, including myself, back to downtown Pontiac, and I'm pretty excited.
Need some TLC down there for sure.
They do.
Yeah, okay. Dave, thank you very much for coming in.
Always.
Appreciate your time today. We'll have you again next month. How's that sound?
Love it. Love it.
All right. We'll be come back here.